When the street girl whispers, "Please marry my mom," the millionaire stops cold. The bustling streets of New York City were alive with the sounds of a million hurried footsteps, car horns blaring, and vendors shouting to draw attention to their wares. Every afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting golden hues over the concrete jungle, Julia sat on the pavement, her small body curled beside her weary mother, Sarah. The air was thick with the smell of roasted chestnuts and street food mingling with the faint odor of nearby trash. Julia's eyes darted around, searching for a glimmer of hope in the chaos. "Mom, I just want to go home," Julia whispered, the weight of her longing pressing heavily against her chest. Sarah's tired eyes, framed by dark circles, looked down, filled with a mix of love and sorrow. As they sat there, a figure emerged from the crowd. A tall, sharply dressed businessman. His tailored suit gleamed, contrasting starkly against the grunge. The world around them seemed to freeze, the noise fading into a backdrop of disbelief. William stopped cold, his regal facade shattered by the raw innocence of her plea. The onlookers nearby gasped, uncertain whether to laugh or feel pity. Whispers erupted among them, discussing the audacity of a small girl from the streets daring to ask a millionaire to play savior. A lump formed in William's throat. How could this child, barely old enough to understand the implications of love and familial bonds, just declare such a bold wish? He felt something stir deep within, a flicker of emotion he thought he'd buried with the ghosts of his past. Julia's eyes held the weight of two worlds, her mother struggling to make ends meet, and the fairy tale she dreamed about at night. All she wanted was to see her mother smile again, to feel safe. Sarah, caught off guard, felt the heat rise in her cheeks. "Julia, stop," she murmured, embarrassment washing over her. Billboards flashed across yet here was Julia, with her resolute heart. But just as they began to find an unexpected connection amid the chaos, a sense of normalcy and hope, an ominous shadow loomed. David, Sarah's estranged ex-partner, had returned, stirring remnants of fear and painful memories. As tensions rose, William's protective instincts kicked in. But could he shield them from the storm? Scandals from his past began to surface, casting doubt over their fragile bond, threatening to shatter the little warmth they were trying to create. Love, they say, conquers all. But would it hold strong as old wounds bled anew? With Julia's innocent request echoing between them, how could they forge a new family when uncertainty wrapped tightly around their hearts? Just when it felt like they could breathe, the sky darkened, doubts hung heavy in the air, leaving them all wondering what fate had in store. How would they navigate the tangled web of their histories? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The crowd shifted, tension crackling like static in the air. William felt a whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. Julia's innocent plea hung there, bold and true, But looming behind it was the specter of David, the past that painted Sarah's life in shades of dread. Just when William thought he could step forward to help, he heard a sudden commotion. A loud crash shattered the air. A nearby vendor's cart tipped over, scattering fruit and pastries across the pavement like colorful confetti. People gasped, eyes darting toward the chaos. Curiosity piqued. But then came the voice, deep and commanding. "What's going on here?" A rough-looking man pushed through the crowd, his stormy gaze fixed on Julia and Sarah. He was no stranger. He was David, the man whose return could ooh. "Mom? Is that him?" Julia's voice trembled slightly, instinct kicking in. The innocence faded from her gaze, replaced by a flicker of fear. With a tight jaw, Sarah moved instinctively to shield her daughter. "You shouldn't be here, David!" Her voice was steady, but inside, her stomach twisted, preparing for a fight. The crowd held its breath. William's heart raced. He could feel the knot tightening in his throat. Who was this man that could instill such fear? David stepped closer, eyes narrowing as he focused on Sarah. "You think you can keep running away? The past doesn't just vanish, sweetheart," he sneered. His words dripped with venom, echoing harshly on the bustling street. Gasps erupted around them. Whispered judgments swept through the crowd, the air thickening with tension. William stepped forward, fueled by an instinct to protect. "Hey, you can't talk to her like that!" He tried to project solidarity, but question marks loomed heavy in the air. David's chuckle was dark, a sound that felt wrong. "And who's this? The new knight in shining armor? Don't kid yourself, billionaire. You don't know what you're getting into." Eyes darted between William and David, an electric pulse of uncertainty coursing through the bystanders. And then it happened. A sudden, shattering scream erupted from the back of the crowd. "Mom, help!" A girl emerged, running through the mass of people. Julia turned, her heart pounding. The girl was Emily, her childhood friend, tears streaking down her face. "What's wrong?" Julia instinctively knelt down, arms outstretched. They took my brother," Emily gasped, choking on her own words while the crowd gasped collectively, struck with horror. A collective murmur sparked through the crowd, tension rising as terrible implications crashed down. William stared at Emily, mind racing. "Who took him?" "Men in black suits. They pulled him from school. They said they were working for someone important." Emily sobbed, her small frame trembling. William's heart dropped. It was more than just a chance encounter. This was something much darker. The connection between their worlds was suddenly apparent. "They?" His voice was barely a whisper, a revelation racing through him. As whispers of danger danced through the crowd, William's gaze shifted back to Julia and Sarah. They were caught in the storm, and every moment teetered on the edge. He could no longer see the separation between their struggles and his wealth, the line blurring frighteningly. Sad reality sank in. The man who had bold ambitions and untold wealth now felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him like 1,000 bricks. Could he really protect them? In that moment, the ties they thought would merely weave a new family twisted into a dark knot of secrets and danger lurking just beyond the surface. His heart raced. We need to act now. But just as the weight settled in, the rumble of an approaching vehicle interrupted him. its ominous presence overshadowing them all. His world was spiraling. The neighborhood shadows whispered something else entirely. What awaited them next? The rumble of the vehicle grew louder, slicing through the tense atmosphere like a knife. William's heart raced. He could feel a storm brewing. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, whispers flowing like water. "What's going on?" someone murmured, eyes darting. William's gaze darted to Julia, her innocent eyes wide with fear. "Stay close," he urged, instinctively stepping in front of Sarah and Julia. The world around them felt like it was closing in. The vehicle, sleek and black, pulled to a stop. A door swung open, revealing two men dressed in dark suits, the kind that whispered danger. William instinctively placed himself in a protective stance. He felt the air grow thick with tension as the men stepped out, faces hard and features grim. "William Hart?" one of them called, his voice cutting through the noise like a gunshot. "Yes, that's me," he started to reply, but his words got lost in the rising panic. "Come with us, it's important," the man insisted, stepping closer, eyes locked on William as the crowd shifted uneasily, whispering questions and speculations. "What do you want?" William barked defensively, the knot in his stomach tightening. And then, like a bolt of lightning cracking in the sky, everything shattered. The other man pulled out a file and waved it in front of him. "You need to see this," he said, voice steady but threatening. "My brother?" Emily suddenly cried out, her little hands trembling as she clutched Julia's arm. "What do they want?" The room spun as the truth dawned. "They're not here for you!" William felt a rush of bile in his throat. In the chaos, Sarah stared wide-eyed, piecing together the puzzle. "What is it? What do you know?" "William, don't go with them!" Julia's small voice trembled, but the urgency of the situation was overpowering, making him numb. Before he could even respond, the first man spoke again. "We know about your recent transactions. You're still connected. You need to explain yourself now." William felt the world tilt, the pieces click together in an agonizing whirl of realization. Recent deals, shady individuals from his past, and now the fates of their lives warped into a tangled mess. "No, it can't be. They can't," he stammered. Suddenly, David, the looming specter of Sarah's past, laughed darkly. "They've come for you, millionaire! You thought you could sweep this under the rug? Think again." And then, as if scripted from a dark comedy, a gunshot rang out. The men in suits froze. Panic erupted, screams piercing the air as chaos ensued. Emily tackled Julia to the ground. William's eyes went wide, panic coursing through his veins. He turned just in time to see David, stealthy and swift, darting towards the chaos with a furious glint in his eye. Was he in league with these men? Or was he the unexpected traitor? As David reached out, something caught him off guard. One of the suit men shoved him hard, sending him crashing into the pavement. But the gunshot hadn't just shattered the air. It split open a dam of secrets. The file, still wavering in the man's hand, revealed pictures. Pictures of William, dark, twisted parts of his life, the connections he'd buried deep. The crowd gasped and murmured, every judgment rising. "Look at him! Look at what he really is!" The voice thundered, echoing through the shocked crowd. Julia cried softly, becoming a silent witness to the unraveling of the man who had almost felt like a savior to her. All eyes turned on William, disbelief swirling. Who was he really? In that spiraling moment, something was lost. Trust, hope, warmth, all crumpled beneath the weight of truth. The atmosphere thickened with dread. Who could they believe now? As darkness settled around them. Ha 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 ha. The question lingered like a storm cloud. Could any of them escape this tangled web? And as the shadows shifted, the truth felt like a blade ready to cut deeper into their lives. What awaited them next seemed even darker than their pasts. Would they find the way back to each other? Or would this be the final separation? The crowd stood frozen, breaths held tight as every pair of eyes turned to the unfolding chaos. William's heart raced, pounding in his chest like a drum. He could feel the heat creeping up his neck, confusion swirling around him. The man in the suit, with the file, took a step forward, face hard as granite. And then, the unexpected happened. From the edge of the crowd, a woman burst through. Her face, pale and haggard, was drenched with urgency. "No!" she screamed, a piercing cry that cut through the confrontation like a blade. "You can't take him!" The crowd parted as she rushed forward, her eyes wide with terror. Time seemed to stretch as everyone turned to stare at her. "I know him! I know William!" "Mom!" Julia gasped, recognition flashing across her small face. The woman's frantic eyes met Julia's, and in that moment, everything changed. "William, listen to me," she pleaded. "You have to remember, you don't know the truth." Shock rippled through him. He could barely process her words. "What are you talking about?" he stammered. The crowd murmured, voices swirling in a mix of fear and disbelief. The woman stumbled closer. Her features began to shift in his mind. It was like peeling back layers of an onion. "You're not just some businessman. You're my son." The world tilted on its axis. William staggered back, mouth open in disbelief. "What? No, that's impossible." "Yes, you were taken from me. They made you forget." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I've searched for you. I never stopped." Every word sent shockwaves through him, each syllable unraveling a part of his reality. "You're lying!" he shouted, the noise of the crowd fading into a dull roar. Suddenly, the dark-suited men exchanged glances, their polished demeanor shifting with confusion. They hadn't anticipated this turn. "What is going on?" One of them barked, his voice cracking like a whip. "William, please! You have to come with me!" The woman reached for him, desperation spilling from her every pore. "No, I don't know you!" he yelled, heart racing, feeling like he was on a sinking ship. A figure broke from the crowd. David leaned against a lamppost, watching with a sinister smirk. "Well, well, well. Looks like the millionaire has a little family drama, doesn't it?" A twist in the tale. All eyes snapped to him, anger flaring in Sarah's eyes. "David, stay out of this!" But David didn't flinch. "Why? This is too delicious to ignore." "William, who is this woman, really? Your long-lost mother? Or just another liar?" The crowd buzzed with questions, assembling a chorus of uncertainty. Sensing the turbulence whip around them, William felt the ground shift beneath his feet. Memories flickered, just beyond reach, shadows of a past he couldn't define. Who was he really? William, listen to me! The woman shouted again, desperation etched across her features. It's true. You were taken by them. They've been keeping you from your real life. Suddenly, vibrant images of laughter, warmth, and a home long forgotten began to surface. Could he trust her? The air thickened with tension, uncertainty clinging to them all, as the truth ebbed and flowed like a tide. "Run!" someone yelled, breaking the spell. The crowd moved back, fear rippling through as another gunshot rang out, louder this time. Gasps erupted. Chaos ensued, the storm of panic rolling through. The figures in suits sprang into action, orders exchanged, voices raised. "Get him, now!" William's heart hammered in his chest. As the woman reached for him, everything blurred. Were they threats or protectors? Who was telling the truth in a world twisted by manipulation and lies? In that explosive moment, the threads of his past and present threatened to intertwine in ways he never imagined. Who was he? What was the truth? And as the shadows closed in, the questions lingered, tangible and electric, leaving him scrambling to hold on to any semblance of sanity. The storm was brewing. Could he find the way back to himself before it engulfed them all? The crowd was chaos, panic tangling every breath. William's heart thudded like a drum in a parade. He was teetering on the edge of revelation, absorbing the shock of the woman's claims. "You're my son," her voice echoed in the fog of disbelief, wrapping around him like chains. "Step back," one of the suited men shouted, moving in closer, eyes narrowing on William. The air felt electrified, tension stretching like an elastic band about to snap. "No! Stop! Everyone! Please!" Emily cried, clinging to Julia. They were lost in a whirlpool of confusion, but William couldn't let fear take the reins. The woman's desperate eyes. Did he see truth or madness? "William!" she cried again, stepping forward. "They've been lying to you about everything." His mind raced. Could she be telling the truth? The face he'd seen in nightmares, the shadows of his past flickered like a movie reel in his head. Memories danced just out of reach, trapped in a haze. Suddenly, a loud bang rang through the air, louder than the chaos that surrounded them. The crowd gasped, shifting back like waves before a tsunami. William stumbled, thoughts spiraling. The scream of someone in the distance. Then another bang, this one sharper, more urgent. People dove for cover, but everything seemed like slow motion. "Get down!" Sarah yelled, instinctively protecting Julia. A cold sweat broke out across William's brow. He could feel all eyes on him, the weight of judgment pressing down. Just as chaos reigned, David laughed again, a sound filled with mockery. "You don't even know the truth about yourself," he bellowed. The suited men hesitated, exchanging quick glances. Another conversation swirling just beneath the surface. William's pulse quickened, dread coiling in his stomach. "What do you know?" he demanded, turning to David. "Enough to ruin you. You think you're special?" The words volleyed between them like bullets. But then a sudden crack of light caught everyone's attention. From the sidelines, a woman stepped forward, her hair wild, eyes burning with intensity. "Stop, all of you!" Her voice sliced through the darkness, hauntingly familiar. "Lena?" It slipped from his lips like a whisper, and he felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "William, I need you to understand, she stammered, breathless. I've watched your life unfold. I know everything. The crowd watched, a mix of shock and curiosity painted across their faces. What's happening? Someone murmured, eyes darting. Lena? He echoed, bewildered. Why are you here? What do you know? She looked frazzled, like she'd rushed through a storm. I work for them, but I'm not what you think. The crowd recoiled, some gasping, others whispering harsh judgments brimming with confusion. She's a spy, someone shouted. No, her shout was fierce. I was sent to protect you, to keep you safe. William couldn't breathe. The world bent around him. Protect me? From what? From the truth. Her voice broke, each word an unraveling thread. What they want from you, it's bigger than we imagined. A pulse of recognition struck him. You know my past? More than you realize, she said. Things were arranged long before you were born. Suddenly, it hit hard, like a fist to the gut. What do you mean, arranged? By whom? By your parents, Lena shouted. They did this to you and to me. Shimmered, each revelation unraveling the fabric of his very being. The weight of that truth fell like a shroud, enveloping him. What are you saying? Then silence. A gaping void waved through their gathering. I am your sister, she revealed, the piercing words hanging in the air. The crowd's shock morphed into an electric hum, and people exchanged frozen glances. His heart stopped. Sister? No, that's impossible! William, listen to me! She implored, her voice high and laced with fear. Chaos erupted once more, but this time it was not just fear, it was horror. The threads connecting each soul watching twisted into a conflated mess of disbelief. He looked at Julia, Sarah, at the faces of childhood friends and strangers woven into his tale. And in that moment, everything shifted. As if a dam had broken, dark secrets surged forth, washing away the safety of his life. William! Julia's voice broke through, clarity rising in her childlike eyes. What does this mean? He looked back at Lena, shadows of doubt creeping in. What does any of this mean? As the truth unfurled, like a dark curtain falling, dread settled heavily in his chest. Who were they really? What lay just beyond this moment, waiting to reveal itself? William felt the ground slip beneath him as Lena's words echoed through his mind. I am your sister. The weight of that revelation wrapped around him like a cold shroud, twisting and tightening, suffocating. Could it be? Everything he thought he knew was crumbling like dry leaves underfoot. A heavy silence draped over the crowd. Eyes darted between the two. Uncertainty hanging thick in the air. This can't be real, he muttered, shaking his head, disbelief flooding his veins. I don't remember you. Lena's face twisted in pain. They made you forget, William. They erased our past. Her eyes shone with an urgency that felt desperate and raw. You have to trust me. David's laughter sliced through the tension, cruel and mocking. Trust in her? She's just trying to save her own skin. Remember who you are, William. You can't just abandon everything. His smirk shifted into something sinister, eyes gleaming with victory. Julia, still holding Emily's hand tightly, glanced between them, confusion etched on her small face. Is this true? She whispered, her voice barely a tremor. What does it mean, William? felt sweat prickling at his temples. He wanted to tell her it would be okay, that everything would somehow work out. But the panic was swelling, hardening in his throat. He scanned the crowd, looking for anything familiar, some sign of clarity in the chaos. Meanwhile, the black-suited men started to close in, shifting their weight like predators circling their prey. "We can't waste any more time," one of them growled, eyeing William with a cold determination. "We need answers, and we need them now." Then, as if the universe had decided it was time for more upheaval, a low rumble filled the air, a sound that felt like doom. From down the street, a convoy of black SUVs came barreling into view, tires screeching against the pavement, engines roaring like beasts unleashed. "Get back!" someone screamed, and the crowd surged away, a wave of fear washing over them. But everything happened too fast. The sudden rush, the noise, it became a blur. Without warning, the lead SUV came to a skidding halt, and doors swung open. Dark figures flooded out, faces obscured by shadows and a menacing air. "We found him!" one shouted, eyes glinting with a zeal that sent shivers down William's spine. "Who are they?" he gasped, the truth hanging heavy before him. Suddenly, he was no longer William, the businessman. He was William, the son of shadows, every part of him twitching with dread. Then, in a shocking twist, one of the men lunged straight for Lena. "You shouldn't have come back. You were told to stay away." His voice dripped with authority, each word a fragment of terror. William's thoughts flashed, the world narrowing down to a single focus. "Wait!" he shouted, panic rising inside him. But then the strangest thing happened. The figure turned, tearing a mask off his face, a mask that had been hiding his identity and revealing another truth. "William, it's time to come home. To the family you don't remember." His heart plummeted. The man looked just like him, as if he were staring into a mirror of his own distorted past. Same jawline, same haunted eyes. "No, this isn't happening," he yelled, disbelief coursing through him. Time froze again. The crowd splintered apart, gasps scattering through the air like leaves caught in a storm. His heart raced with fear and confusion. "Who are you?" he demanded, voice cracking under the weight of revelation. "What do you want from me?" But as the man stepped closer, an ominous smile creeping across his face, William felt everything around him vanish. His world had shifted again, a chasm opening beneath them all. "You'll find out soon enough, brother." And in that moment, everything seemed to change completely. William's mind surged with questions. Who was he really? What secrets had they hidden? What had they done? And as he stood there, electric urgency buzzing through him, he realized he was trapped in a web of lies that threatened to swallow him whole. And the safety he had long sought now seemed impossibly far away. William felt the ground slip beneath him as Lena's words echoed through his mind. "I am your sister." The weight of that revelation wrapped around him like a cold shroud. Could it be? Everything he thought he knew was crumbling into dust. His heart raced. The crowd stood frozen, glancing between him and Lena. "This can't be real," he shouted, shaking his head in disbelief. "William, they've hidden the truth!" Lena cried, her brow furrowed with desperation, her eyes pleading. "You need to trust me," David scoffed, rolling his eyes. "And what if she's just manipulating you?" It's a classic. Before he could finish, a sudden blast, a deafening explosion, erupted from one of the SUVs. The deafening sound silenced the chaotic murmurs in the crowd. People screamed and ran in every direction. William instinctively pulled Julia close, his heart pounding like a drum. Smoke billowed into the sky, thick and black, mingling with the stench of burning rubber. The SUV was engulfed in flames, the crackling sound echoing in his ears. Confusion set in. No one knew what was happening. Eyes widened in fear. The moment felt surreal. "Get down!" Lena shouted, and William pushed Julia and Emily behind him, shielding them with his own body. His heart raced as he glanced back at the smoking wreckage. Who had done this? Who was the target? From the chaos, another figure emerged, tall and menacing. "Get away from him!" The voice rang out through the panic. It was one of the men in dark suits, barreling through the haze, face twisted with rage. "Stand down!" he shouted, brandishing a weapon that glimmered ominously in the smoke. The crowd gasped, a wave of fear washing over them. "William." Julia's voice trembled as she clutched his arm tightly. He felt the weight of her fear seep into him. But then, amidst the bedlam, another shout rang through the air, this one strong, commanding. "Enough! This ends now!" A woman stepped forth from the shadows, her presence cutting through the chaos like a beam of light. It was a familiar figure, one he thought was lost. It was Angela, his mother. "What are you doing here?" he exclaimed, disbelief flooding him. She marched forward, unflinching against the chaos swirling around them. "I came to save you." Her eyes locked onto his, filled with desperation and anger. "Save me!" His mind raced. From what? Who are these people? But before she could answer, the smoke thickened, swirling around, and a figure appeared from behind the SUV, bloodied but defiant. It was another man, eyes wild with fear and recognition. "They're coming! The family is coming!" "What do you mean?" Lena shouted, voice laced with panic. "What family?" The man gasped, leaning heavily against the wreckage. "Your family isn't who you think they are, William. They've been manipulating both sides. We are all pawns." The crowd's murmurs rose like a tide, disbelief mixed with fear. "What do you mean?" William shouted, feeling a knot of dread tightening in his chest. "The family you thought you belonged to? They're not your real family. You're not just a business mogul. You're part of something bigger, a legacy they keep hidden." His heart dropped. Everything he thought he knew twisted like a knife inside him. The strangers, the danger, it connected deeper than he ever imagined. Suddenly, another explosion rocked the ground, sending a shockwave through the crowd. People screamed, ducking for cover. William looked around, adrenaline surging. There was no safe place now. As the dust settled, Lena's eyes were wide with confusion, but fierce determination. "We have to leave now." But just then, a loud voice boomed through the chaos. "Stop, William Hart. We are here to take you home." William's breath caught in his throat. Who were these people? Was this all a lie? A game of deception where he was the main player? His world had shifted on its axis, leaving him reeling. Who could he trust? What was the truth? The question spiraled, and as darkness washed over them once more, he felt the edges of his reality fray. What awaited him next? He had no idea. But one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same. William stood there, heart racing, as the chaos around him erupted into a frenzy of sounds and sights. His mother's voice echoed, "You have to trust me!" But doubt lingered like a bitter taste at the back of his throat. The air was electric with fear, and he could feel the weight of 1,000 eyes boring into him. The man who had identified himself as his brother took a step forward, urgency etched on his face. "William, they're after the truth. You're about to uncover something far more dangerous than you could ever imagine." The urgency in his tone struck a chord deep within William, but he barely had time to react before yet another explosion shattered the atmosphere. This time the sound was closer, shaking the ground beneath them. A fire erupted from the back of the second SUV, flames licking at the darkening sky, sending smoke spiraling everywhere, suffocating and disorienting. People screamed and fell into a frenzy, running in a panic. "Get out now!" William yelled, instinctively, his protective instincts flaring. Julia clung tightly to his arm, confusion swirling in her eyes. Emily grasped her hand, terror spreading across her small frame. And then, just as they turned to make their escape, a loud voice rose from the shadows, shattering the chaos. "Stop! Don't go!" It cut through the noise like glass breaking. A woman's voice, filled with authority. A figure emerged from the smoke, silhouetted against the blazing flames. It was Lisa, a childhood friend. But she wasn't alone. Striding in behind her was a group dressed in tactical gear, faces masked. The sight sent a chill through the crowd. "Back off!" the masked leader shouted, brandishing a weapon. The crowd froze again, shock crashing over them like a wave. "We're taking William." "What?" William shouted, confusion coiling inside him. "Who even are you?" Lisa stepped forward, urgency in her eyes. "William, please, they know everything. They've been tracking you for years." Panic underlined her voice, each word pressed with fear. "Tracking? Why? I don't understand." But before anyone could answer, the masked leader moved closer, eyes scanning the crowd. "We are here to protect you from them." "To protect him?" Lena shouted, stepping in front of William, desperation tugging at her voice. "And who are you to decide that?" Then, in the midst of shouting and struggle, an electric silence fell. Suddenly, he felt it, something soft, yet heavy, against his leg. A small device? A bomb? Panic shot through him as he recoiled, but the moment hung like a tightrope. The tiny device began to blink, and with a piercing tone, it released a scream that pierced through the chaos. "Emergency! Evacuate the area! A threat is imminent!" The automated voice rang out, drowning out the chaos, clarity slicing through the fog. "What threat?" William yelled, heart thundering in his chest. "Your mother has company," the masked leader shot back, eyes wide with urgency. "You need to leave now." That's when everything shifted. Lisa's eyes locked onto his, filled with sorrow. It's not just your past, William. It's about to be everyone's future if we don't act. A hot rush of confusion swirled in his chest. What could she mean? Just then, a flicker of recognition hit him. Flashes of memories long locked away. The warmth of a family. Laughter spilling like sunshine. And then, darkness. And suddenly, a realization struck. Was he the key? As if reading his thoughts, the masked leader stepped closer, voice low. William, they're after you because of your bloodline. They want to use you. You have to trust us to keep you safe. Another explosion thundered, and screams crescendoed as the crowd scattered. He looked back at Julia and Emily, shaking, their faces pale. And then, everything exploded into chaos. The trembling uncertainty morphed into madness as a new wave of darkness rushed forward. William found himself at the center, not just of a battle, but of a fate that unraveled everything he thought he knew. In that moment of confusion, something snapped deep inside him, a connection that he couldn't explain. The flames roared behind him, the figures faded into shadows, and for the first time, he felt the weight of his true identity bearing down upon him. In the panic, he heard Lisa's voice shout, "Run! You have to choose your past or your future!" But as he turned, the group took off in one direction, but his feet stayed rooted in place. The weight of his family's secrets hung heavy in the air. What would he choose? What was the truth? With chaos swirling around him, William felt a sense of dread and uncertainty intertwine. And somewhere, echoing in the background, the future waited, dark and twisted, like the flames igniting in the night. Chaos tore through the crowd, and everyone was shouting, desperate to escape the looming threat. People were scrambling, and the fire blazed behind him, like a vengeful spirit. He felt the heat on his back. Julia and Emily clung to him, eyes wide with fear. His mind was a whirlwind of confusion and urgency. "William, we have to move!" Lena's voice cut through the din. But he was stuck, his thoughts spinning. Just then, the figure from the shadows stepped forward, the man who claimed to be his brother. "They're coming for you, William. They know you're here." The emergency sirens wailed, giving an ominous soundtrack to the chaos. William could feel his heartbeat in his throat. "What do you mean they're coming? Who are you?" But then everything shifted. The SUV closest to them exploded, sending a burst of flames and debris flying into the air. The shockwave slammed into him, throwing him back. He hit the ground hard, knocking the wind from his lungs. Julia screamed, and he shot to his feet, panic coursing through him. "Are you okay?" He turned to find her, his legs shaking. She nodded, tears in her eyes, but he could see her fear. Then, still dazed, he caught sight of the masked leader from the tactical group rushing past him. "We need to secure him, now!" the man shouted at his team. William struggled to catch up, but something caught his eye through the smoke. At the edge of the chaos, there was movement, a shadow shifting, creeping closer. "Get down!" Lena yelled, pushing him back just as a shot rang out. A figure darted from behind the wreckage, a man dressed in black sprinting toward them, a gun in hand. Panic surged through the crowd, screams rising as people scattered in all directions. The masked man turned, raising his weapon. "Stop!" William shouted, adrenaline fueling him. But the chaos enveloped them, and the ground beneath felt unstable. And then, in a blinding flash, everything transformed. In the center of the explosion, amidst the fires and smoke, a figure emerged. It was his mother, Angela, standing tall, hand outstretched, a flash of something in her hand. "What are you doing? Get back!" William yelled, confusion washing over him. "William!" she cried, her voice cutting through the roar of destruction. "I've got the only solution!" Then, just like that, she pressed a button on the device. Time seemed to freeze. A blinding light exploded outward from the device, enveloping everything around them. William felt an overwhelming energy surge through him. A moment later, the light faded, and stunned silence fell. The sounds of chaos were gone, replaced by an overwhelming stillness. People were frozen in place, their faces etched with shock. "What just happened?" Julia whispered, eyes wide. William's body felt light, almost weightless. "Mom, what did you do?" But as he looked back at her, he saw something entirely different. It wasn't his mother standing there. The woman who had fought so fiercely for him. The face shifted, morphing into a cruel smile. "Welcome back, William," she said, voice smooth, yet laced with malice. "I knew you'd come home." Everything shattered. The world he knew slipped away, replaced by a dark reality. "Home?" he echoed, the word tasting like ash in his mouth. "Who are you?" The crowd finally erupted into movement, panicked whispers filling the air. Their world had warped into something unrecognizable. "Not everything is as it seems, dear brother," she said, stepping forward, revealing the truth behind her guise. In that moment, everything William thought he knew about himself came crashing down. The narratives they had spun about family and safety now unraveled, revealing the essence of betrayal. And before him stood a woman who wore the face of love, but wielded a heart of darkness. "Who are we to you, really?" he asked, voice trembling, the weight of revelation settling in. "What is this about?" But as confusion gnawed at him, he realized there were only more questions now. The truth felt like a knife against his skin, and he wondered, was trust still alive between them? Or had it been extinguished in the flames of betrayal? What awaited them next was a mystery deepened by shadows, a tangled web of betrayal and twisted ties that confusion swirled around him, and fear gripped his chest, nearly choking him. "Why?" he struggled to ask, the question trembling on his lips. "What do you want from me?" But the fire behind her flared, and in that moment, the air crackled with unease. The masked leader stepped forward, urgency lining his voice. "We have to move now, William. The past is behind you, but they won't let you go easily." With a sudden determination, William nodded. This was not just about him anymore. It was about everyone around him. Julia clutched his hand, eyes wide with fear, and Emily buried her face into his side. The weight of their anxiety filled the air. intertwining with the impending danger that loomed like a storm cloud. "Let's go!" he shouted, breaking through the chaos as they turned to run. But the fiery heat from the wreckage seemed to follow them, the shadows of uncertainty nipping at their heels. They sprinted through the crowd, with William's heart pounding. He could feel the tension thickening, like a rope about to snap. The smoke was suffocating, the sirens echoing ominously as they darted past terrified onlookers, faces painted with shock and disbelief. Just when they reached a clearing, the sound of footsteps thundered behind them. The masked leader turned, eyes fierce. "They're catching up! We need to get inside!" With no time to waste, they dashed into a nearby building, old, abandoned, and shrouded in dust. The door slammed shut just as a barrage of footsteps approached. Heart in his throat, William leaned against the wall, breathing heavily, hoping against hope they would be safe. "Why are they after you?" Lena asked, pressing closer, fear etched on her face. "What do they want?" "They think I hold some kind of power," he said, voice barely a whisper. "But the only thing I've ever wanted is to live a normal life, to be free." Lena's eyes softened momentarily, understanding flickering. "We can help you find that freedom, William. But we need to face whatever comes next together." Then came the sound of heavy footsteps outside. Frantic yet determined, William felt dread wash over him. They were here, and they wouldn't stop until they found him. With his back against the wall, he whispered, "If we're going to fight, we'll fight together. I have no idea what's happening, but I know we can take them on." Just then, the door burst open, a figure stepping into the dim light. It was Angela, but she looked different now, a conflicted air around her as she bore the weight of the moment. "William, please, you need to listen to me." "Listen to you?" The words were edged with confusion. "And trust you after everything?" "I did what I had to do. It's complicated," she shot back. Desperation colored her voice. "We're in danger, all of us. We can't let them control our lives any longer." Tension crackled, escalating rapidly. Just as William felt the walls closing in, realization hit him. I will choose my family, not scars from the past." The atmosphere shifted, and the shadows of uncertainty began to dissipate. A tense moment hung in the air. Then suddenly Williams noticed the looming darkness outside. "We need to get out of here now!" They rushed out, a fierce resolve breathing life into their escape. As they dashed down the hallway, William took a sidelong glance at Julia and Emily. Determination shone in their eyes. Just as they entered the street, a zipper of bullets cut through the air. Footsteps echoed behind them again. Only this time they arrived with purpose. "Run!" Lena shouted, propelling them forward, and they surged through the chaos of the streets, hearts pounding in rhythm. As they ran, William couldn't shake the feeling that despite everything, they were at the precipice of something monumental. Each step, a reminder of the hopes tethered to the breaths escaping their lungs. Would they finally escape the shadows? Could they forge their destinies together, free from the chains of the past? In that moment of urgent hope, it felt as if anything was possible. But just ahead, darkness loomed, pulsing uncertainly, waiting to reveal its next move. And now, dear readers, it's your turn to take action. Don't let this moment slip away. You must subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will twist your heart. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep the momentum going. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What did it all mean? What's next for William? Your insights make a difference. And most importantly, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know where the story is headed. Don't wait one more second. Be part of this incredible journey and show your support.